Stephanie Berthelot and the crew at SR Enterprise can handle it all, from sheetrock to texture to paint. Give Stephanie a call at 504-432-9284. SR Enterprise, where they spread the paint and you spread the word. So look, we've had a lot of guests on this show who are simply at the top of their field. I think of Trisha Johnston, the realtor. I think of Woody Overton of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. I mean, the list goes on and on, but my guest today is no exception. When it comes to the business of bartering, Dane Arnold is the expert. Okay, his business literally encompasses the entire parish of Livingston. If you want to know how you can survive with your business through tough economic times, whether it be a flood, whether it be COVID, then this is an episode you're going to want to watch. So with that, Dane Arnold, welcome to the Local Leaders of the podcast. So we're going to get into your beautiful world of bartering and trade and how it really helps business. But before we do all that, I want to get into who you are personally a little bit. So kind of tell me, where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your family, those sorts of things.
Okay. I grew up in New Orleans, New Orleans East. Okay. Which is, don't really want to go visit New Orleans East too often these days. But anyway, so I had one brother, an older brother, about 12 months older than me. Okay. And after I was born, I was the last to be born. My dad saw to that. Yeah. But anyway, so I grew up in New Orleans East, went to a Catholic high school, grew up, went to some private schools over there. My parents moved me from public to private school about third grade or so. Okay. So that was a real wonderful move, a very necessary move, and it influenced my life from then on. My mom really bit the bullet financially. We didn't grow up wealthy. I would say on the lower middle class realm. Yeah. So she really bit the bullet and sent us to some private schools, and it costed her a lot of money, but I think it wound up being a wonderful, wonderful thing for my brother and I that she did that. And went to Catholic high school. After that, she sent us to private grade school, private high school, and as a matter of fact, I was a Protestant at a Catholic high school. Interesting. And they allowed a certain percentage of Protestants. Yeah. It was interesting after the fact that that they actually had mass going on, and I had no idea what was going on. It's like it was a secret. At that Catholic high school, there was things happening I wasn't even aware of. It was kind of funny to find that out after the fact. Can't let you
Protestants know all the things we do in Mass.
I get, apparently not. But anyway, that was a wonderful education. Brother Martin High School was where
Brother Martin, very familiar with them. Powerful football program for a long time.
It still is too, and baseball, and it was definitely a focus on athletics at that school, like it is most high schools.
Sure. But you weren't a football player. You were in the band.
That's right.
And you were actually a very good trombonist.
Trombonist.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So my freshman year, I actually played baritone. And that's when I started music. My brother was a drummer. And I wanted to play drums, but I went to the band director and he goes, "No, we really need a baritone player." So I said, "Okay, I'll play baritone." and then I went and started playing with the drum and bugle corps over that summer, which is a traveling marching band. It was out of Chalmette, Louisiana. And so we would go on weekends and we'd practice and we'd go compete in the summers with other bands all across the country. And so when I came back that summer, the band director says, "Well, we don't need a baritone player. We need a trombone player. Can you switch?" I said, "Okay, I'll switch from baritone to trombone." And then I really excelled at trombone and
really
enjoyed it. Played to this day. Yeah. Not lately. Okay. With the COVID, there's some wacky things going on where, apparently they don't want air coming through through
the trombone. Yeah, don't want you blowing all that COVID on us.
All those air particles are going through those horns. We don't want that happening.
Well, we could put a mask on the trombone, maybe on the front of it.
That's a great idea. There's a business there. They could be a part of my trade exchange. Maybe.
So you go through high school and you become I know you would never say this, but a phenomenal trombone player, and you actually go to LSU. And you were in Tiger Band.
I was.
Now, how was that? I would imagine you learned a lot of things through participating in Tiger Band, aside from improving your trombone skills. So leadership stuff, you working as a team, all those sorts of things.
But really, it was like you have options when you go to college on what kind of extracurricular activities you want to be involved in. You can join a fraternity or a sorority or whatever it may be. I joined the band, and that was the fraternity. You had a huge group of people with 300 or 400 people in Tiger Band or so. And you all get to know each other. You're practicing regularly, starting in June and August or so before the first football game, and you get to know each other. And that was just a lot of fun. And they paid us.
Really?
It was like a paid vacation. Yeah. So there were different things that I was involved in at LSU that actually helped me pay for that education.
I had no idea they paid y'all.
Maybe they didn't pay everybody, but they paid. I know they paid me. Yeah. And so,
I love it.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was more of a stipend.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful thing, though. It was that was a wonderful experience at LSU.
Lifelong friends.
Not about it.
Yeah.
To keep track with a lot of them on Facebook, and
Well, I can tell you, ever since I was, I think my first LSU game that I went to, I was about 8 years old. And of course, at the beginning of that game, before the team even takes the field, you hear that boom, 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 boom. And then here comes the band. And that to this day is my absolute favorite part of the game. Always loved that part. The whole, the roof blows off of Tiger Stadium. So you've experienced that, and I'm sure that's something that you have to experience to really grasp what that's like.
You can't even imagine what it's like marching on the field for pregame.
Yeah.
And when you hit the first boom and the crowd goes crazy, and then you start playing, you can't even hear yourself play. You literally can't even hear yourself play.
Wow.
And so at the end of the game too, the whole band goes into the band room and we analyze the performances, the pregame as well as the halftime show.
Yeah.
And what you're looking for is mistakes, so that you don't make them again. And so if somebody makes a mistake in pregame, where everybody's turning and one person doesn't turn, it's like, your eyes are directed towards mistakes, generally speaking.
Yeah, sure. And even with that many people, when the mistakes happen, people notice it. I mean, right. Yeah. So people don't realize, I certainly didn't realize. I played football, so I didn't realize the work that goes into band. I have 3 children. All of them are involved in band at Denham Springs High School now. So now I get it. Believe it or not, before COVID, they were practicing more than the football team out there constantly. And it blew my mind because I'm like, man, I didn't realize it worked this hard. I played football. I wasn't in the band in high school. Now I was in middle school and I was a pretty awesome trumpet guy. Believe it. I'm telling you, I could play. Pretty good. I was first chair my 8th grade.
Awesome, man. You just didn't keep it up, huh?
No. When I got to high school, I had to kind of make a choice as per the coach. And it was either band or it was football. It couldn't be both. The practices just can't coexist.
Very time.
Yeah. So I chose football. Thought I was going to play for the, Chicago Bears.
Of course you did.
And yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother story. But
that's fun.
But so you're in college, you're playing for Tiger Band, and you want to make some extra money, right? Like all of us. You started selling coupons, was it?
No. I started with a marketing company. It was a book company. Okay. It was an educational book company.
Okay.
And this was maybe the second year at LSU. Yeah, sophomore year. And it was a book company very large book company that would send you to different parts of the country to sell educational books, books that it felt like an encyclopedia, but there were only two of them. There was one for grade school and one for high school. They would teach you things like algebra. They'd have algebra problems and they'd have geometry problems. So it was real technically oriented educational books, and I would sell those door to door.
Oh, wow.
And so we were working hardest job I ever had.
Yeah, that's called sales by fire. That's tough.
It was 30 sales a day, 30 presentations a day, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And, they called it a paid vacation, but you know what? It was no vacation, but it made me realize that sales and marketing was going to be where I needed to be versus where I started at my freshman year.
Right.
Which was, Donald St. Angelo, Dr. Don, you had him last week, right?
Yeah.
I started off in a pre-dental curriculum, and I got to organic chemistry. I'm done. So I realized that sales and marketing was where I needed to be anyway.
I can relate.
And I know, yeah. So people are designed differently, and that's
right.
But that started, all the way when I was in third, fourth grade. I mean, you can look at all the steps of your life, all the chapters of your life, and you say, where is God leading me? And God, when I was in third, fourth grade, my parents had a boutique in the French Quarter on Royal Street, right across from the Court of Two Sisters. It was a souvenir shop. And my brother and I, we would work there in summers and on weekends, and we would be doing the cash register. And it was a cash register, right?
Yeah.
Where you would actually have to make change. And, if the electricity goes out, we could still function. Now, today, they'll shut the grocery store down if the electricity goes out. But so anyway, we were stocking shelves and making silkscreen T-shirts with an iron press. And so we really learned business at that point. And it wasn't more sales, but it was business and how to handle money and how to run a business. And so that had an impact on me way back, even before I was selling books door to door. Yeah. And so it was they'd have leftover items in the boutique, little notepads, and my dad would sell them to me. He wouldn't give them to me, and I'd go sell them at school in third grade. Little interesting little psychedelic piece notepads, and but they my principal put a stop to that. He didn't like me being an entrepreneur. But yeah. But anyway,
it's funny, and I find from a lot of successful salespeople that they didn't at 25 years old start selling something. Usually, there's a long history of it. I used to sell candy in high school, and I would sell like Snickers bars and chips, and I figured out that I could buy them. I think back then I could buy like a Snickers bar for 25 cents or 30 cents, and I would sell it for 50. And I'm like, wow, I'm making 20-cent profit every time I sell one. And I was on the football team, so everybody was hungry after, and we had a vending machine, and that vending machine was actually, I made sure I was 5 cents lower than the vending machine. Okay. So they were saving money with me. Now the coach found out he didn't like it too much because I was taking money out of the football team's pocket then, but he respected the hustle. He respected the fact that I came up with, he sat me down and he asked me, how did you come up with your price point? And I said, well, I saw what you were selling it for, and I knew you were my competition. So I knew I didn't have to cut it much, but I had to cut it enough to make it worth it. And so I figured a nickel was worth it. And he's like, I can respect that, but you can't do it no more. I had a good little thing going there. I was making like $20 a week doing that. Yeah. But the point to that is with successful salespeople, especially, there's typically an early start. So I'm not surprised that you started so early in life, kind of honing, I guess you could say, your selling skills. And I try to tell people, there's two perceptions on salespeople. There's one perception that salespeople are all about the hustle, and maybe some of them are less on the up and up, I guess would be a good word. But let me tell you the difference between a salesperson and someone that is more of a hustler, I guess you could say. And that is, a salesperson can only sell things he believes in. A hustler can sell anything. Sure. I'm not going to sell something I don't believe in. I can't. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. Well, I can't. I mean, because I base all of my selling off of my passion, and I can't have passion for something I don't believe in. You have a passion for trade.
Sure.
Okay. Trade is something that you believe in. And before we get in, and we're going to really dive into this, and everybody listening out there, everybody watching this video, this is the advantage of long form podcasting when you have a business. The advantage is we can sit down and we can really break down what it is. And you're going to want to hear this because there's a lot of advantages to trade. I speak from experience. I'm on the trade exchange. This podcast is on the trade exchange, and we will certainly take trade for podcast services that we offer. Leanne's Flooring by Design, conveniently located on Florida Boulevard in Denham Springs. Leanne can service all of your flooring needs. Give them a call for an appointment at 523-7004. At Leanne's Flooring by Design, they stand behind everything you walk on. So when you hear us speaking today, know that I have experienced all of this, and I do believe in the trade exchange. Matter of fact, I'm on your board of directors, right. And so very familiar with it. But let's get into how did you come about learning what this system was, a barter exchange?
It was through a business that I had. Okay. So I was in a custom clothing business. It was more like a mobile custom clothing shop is what I had, okay. Call it a clothier, where I would go to attorneys' offices or financial planners' offices, and I would measure them for custom suits or custom shirts or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I would have it made. I wouldn't actually do the sewing, but I would have it made, and then I would go deliver the product. Did that for about 12 years, and I was introduced to the bartering concept by a company that was actually out of Lafayette that was moving into Baton Rouge. A friend of mine was starting that arm of that barter exchange. And so I joined selling custom clothes through the organized bartering network. I was doing some one-on-one bartering before that. Like let's say I needed somebody to do a business plan for me. I would get an accountant or whatever to do a business plan for me. And maybe he needed a suit, and we would do some direct trading.
Sure.
But it got out of hand. Typically with direct trading, the negative side of direct trading is somebody needs to keep track. Somebody needs to keep track of who owes who what when. And so it gets a little bit confusing. Where with organized trading, which I joined, I didn't have to do that anymore. So I didn't have to worry about the direct trading component. If let's say that you were a part of that exchange at that time and you needed a custom suit, I would sell you a custom suit. I would earn the trade dollars. They'll go into my account, and then I can use those trade dollars anywhere I wanted to with any other person that was part of the trade exchange.
Right.
So I'm not tied to doing a podcast, for example. Not that I wouldn't want to, you understand? I'm here today, right? But let's say I didn't want to advertise by way of podcast. I wasn't tied to spending my money directly back with you. I could go get an oil change or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So anyway, I joined that trade exchange, and I liked it so much that I started referring some of my clients to the guy who signed me up.
Right.
And he goes, well, why don't you just kind of work with me in a part-time basis? And so I did. And so it just kind of one thing led to another. And I started doing it more, felt full-time than part, because I liked it more.
Sure.
I had more, it was funner.
Yeah.
It was funner. The trade exchange was more fun than, measuring men's legs and, and chest and all that. It was a more fun experience for me.
Yeah.
And it was just, I guess, call it a midlife crisis, call it what you will, and that happens sometimes. But here I am today, 18 years later, being part of the trade.
And you own your own exchange.
It's my exchange, that's right.
Now, and I want to kind of back up a little bit because I want to make sure people don't get lost. So bartering, when Dane says bartering is essentially a direct trade between two individuals or two businesses. Okay, bartering has been around since the beginning of time, 5000 BC. And what bartering was back then was basically if a guy needed bread and another guy needed, I don't know what they had, a rock hammer, for example.
This is occasional.
Okay, so he would say, hey, I need your rock hammer and I'm going to give you this bread. And they would make a direct trade. Now, where the barter exchanges come into play is exactly what Dane just said. It keeps track of those trades. So it also opens up an avenue where you know many, many different people that you can trade with. I may want to make a trade with somebody and say, hey, I'd like you to be on my podcast and I really need a stereo system. So let's do a swap. But if I don't know that person is willing to do a trade with me, I may never approach them. Well, what a trade exchange gives you is it gives you the ability to know ahead of time who wants to trade. Now, you may not realize the size of these trade exchanges and the options of things you can do, but you're a member of Moxie, and Moxie is a conglomerate of smaller trade exchanges. Would that be a good way to put it?
Moxie is the currency of the community of trade exchanges. And there's 14 trade exchanges that are now accepting that currency.
Okay.
So, and it's spread, there's 4,000 businesses spread across 3 states.
4,000.
4,000 businesses, right, that are accepting and part of this network of trade exchanges. So again, Moxie is the currency, but every trade exchange has their own identity.
Gotcha.
So which each of the trade exchanges is locally oriented. So we have about 200 local businesses, Livingston Parish, and I have Central City, that are part of the iTrade exchange.
Yeah.
And then they have trade exchanges in Baton Rouge, but we're all again, locally oriented, but there are global options involved.
Yeah, and although any business technically can be a part of trade, you really cater. I would say it's more focused towards small private business owners.
Correct.
Would you agree?
Yeah, you're not going to find franchises. You're not going to find a Walmart. Sometimes, why don't you get Walmart? Well, we don't want Walmart. Walmart comes into a town and they actually put small businesses out of business.
Right.
iTrade Exchange. One of my purposes in life in doing this is to help small businesses, to help businesses keep cash in their back pocket and to help them get more clients. That's part of what I do.
Well, and let's talk about that. So you go into a business, and if I'm a business owner and I'm not familiar with a barter exchange, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say, Dane, how can you help me? Okay, maybe let's give you a hypothetical situation. Okay. You walk into my business. I am a car wash. Okay. And I'm struggling. Okay. And you walk into my business and I say, Dane, quite honestly, I'm having trouble attracting customers. How can you help me? How can a barter exchange help me?
By the way, generally when a company is saying that they're struggling, what they're saying is I'm struggling with cash flow.
Okay.
That's what they're saying.
Sure.
And cash flow, the reason you're not having cash flow is because you're not getting enough clients. So iTrade will come into the door and say, look, my objective with our business owners that are part of this trade exchange is to get you new clients. Those new clients are going to spend a currency with you that's going to generate all types of opportunities where you can save cash by using that currency. Right. So instead of going to spend, $300 with Dr. Donald St. Angelo to go get your teeth cleaned or whatever it may be, you'll be able to take that currency, that trade currency, and instead of spending cash, you're spending this currency that I helped you create. Yeah. Right. So you're keeping that cash in your back pocket, and you can across the whole, whether that's eating out or going to get a haircut or going to get embroidered shirts. There's all different kinds of ways that businesses need to save cash, right?
Absolutely.
Right. A restaurant in particular, restaurants are kind of a driving force in a trade exchange. Mm-hmm. So you have a restaurant, they need plumbers, they need electricians, they need air conditioning companies, they need different types of products to help them run their business.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have those types of products available to them to help them save cash, right? Right. And I'm helping them fill tables too while they're doing it.
Right.
And they want to do that. They don't want to have empty tables.
No, they don't.
I want to help them move their inventory.
Sure.
A trade exchange is to help a company move their excess inventory, whether that be time or products. Right, those are the main things that you have. You have time. Big Mike's has products. Right, he's trying to move that chicken. He don't want that chicken to stay in there more than 2 or 3 days.
No, he don't want it in there more than that. I don't want him to have it in.
No, me either. That's dangerous. Yeah, that's and he doesn't either. He doesn't. Okay.
That's right. So essentially, you are someone that is opening them up to a whole new line of customers. Now let me get into this with you. Okay. So you basically learn about this, and we're going to kind of circle back to where we left off. Okay. You learn about a trade exchange, you really enjoy it, and at some point you start working for a trade exchange. Which I think is kind of the best way to become an owner of your own, because you learn everything from the ground up. So tell me a little bit about your history with working for a trade exchange before you bought you started Itradexchange and all those.
Right. So 2002, I started working with Partners One out of Baton Rouge. My primary purpose was to bring in new clients into that organization. They might have had 50 or so members at the time. Yeah. And by the time I was there to 2013, and we realized at that point, Partners had 550 members. But at that point, we realized that 90% of the members were in East Baton Rouge Parish.
Sure.
And so I had a decision to make of where do I want to go. And I looked at all the different territories. I looked at Tangipahoa. I looked at Lafayette. I looked at some different areas. And I realized that Livingston Parish was somewhat of an untapped area. It really wasn't being serviced properly by Partners One.
Right.
So I said, well, let me start iTrade and really focus on bringing this concept to business owners in Livingston Parish.
So Livingston Parish appealed to you, and I'm sure you saw, of course, from then to now, the growth has been massive, yes. To say the least, even through a flood, even through all of those things, the growth here, I got here in 1997. And just between 97 and 2020, it's unbelievable the amount of growth we've had from the Bass Pro Shop. It seemed like Bass Pro Shop kind of kicked everything off here to a whole new level. So you certainly picked a market and in 2013, a time in order to, your timing couldn't have been better, I guess. Right. So you start your own trade exchange, and then the pressure kind of sits in because you're like, wow, now I got to actually find people that trade is something you've got to understand. And I speak from experience because I'm on the other side of you. So I was someone that when we talked initially, I had no idea what trade was. I had never heard of a trade exchange, and I am a research fanatic. You're not going to sell me anything without me checking it out. So I checked out my information. I went online. Believe it or not, barter exchanges are all over the country. They're very popular. And as a matter of fact, they're recognized by the government. You have to file a 1099-B with the IRS, and the IRS treats it just like cash. So you're not doing anything illegal or trying to hide money from the IRS. They're fully aware, fully support barter exchanges, and they
love it.
They love it. Oh, they love it.
Well, yeah, because the direct trading, which again is illegal. It really is illegal because most of it's not reported. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And we're not going to go down that path. Yeah. But organized barter at the time that I got involved in 2002, it was a $17 billion industry in our country alone. Yeah. So the government's getting their cut. They're happy. The local governments or the national governments, they're all getting their cut. And they love that. They love the organized component of a trade exchange. There's no question about it.
Absolutely. So, and I also want to bring this up, and I'm going to bring it up now so that we don't forget to bring it up later. But, listeners out there, viewers out there, they may be saying, well, how do you keep track of all this stuff? I mean, how am I going to know if somebody's on trade? guess what? Trade is 21st century stuff. You have an app.
That's correct.
You there's a card. It's a Moxie card, and it's a credit. It basically looks like a credit card, same thing, or a debit card. And anywhere that accepts Moxie, you basically hand them the card. They swipe it just like a debit card, and you're good to go. Most businesses, if they have a storefront, they'll have a sticker on there that says Itradexchange or Moxie. And that sticker kind of lets you know, if you didn't already know, that they accept it. But there's an app that you can go to. You pull up the app and you can pull up whatever you want to do. Let's say you need rehab. No, let's pick rehab services, because that's something people wouldn't expect to find maybe on a trade exchange. So you pull up rehab services, and who pops up when you pull that up? Triton Healthcare, right here in Denham Springs. Cheryl Jean will fix your shoulder problem, and then she's going to ask you for your trade card, and she's going to run that transaction. But guess what you just did as a business owner? You just saved the cash you were going to pay Cheryl Jean, and you traded her basically with currency, with this digital currency. Now, it is not a Bitcoin. I want people to be very clear on that. These are not even in the same realm of being the same. I just bring that up because some people have the perception that if it is not cash, it's a digital currency like Bitcoin. It is not. It is totally different, and Bitcoin isn't even recognized by the IRS, I don't believe.
I don't know why the IRS, they don't really like Bitcoin.
No,
but they love
really
us. This is
things.
A currency that, like you said, this is seen just like the cash currency.
That's right. It doesn't go up and down like, it's not the dollar, but it's based off of the dollar in value, meaning that if you're going to go in and spend $1 at Triton, $1 in Moxie currency is the same thing.
That's right. It's a dollar for dollar currency.
It's a dollar for dollar currency.
That's right. No question.
Very important for people to grasp. So how many people in Livingston Parish roughly are in the trade?
Almost 200.
Almost 200 businesses. That's a lot in Livingston Parish.
Now I have Central too. I actually live in Central City.
Yeah.
So I moved there long before iTrade even began.
Sure.
So it's not as large of a community as Livingston Parish, obviously. Right. But so I have quite a few clients in that area as well that are part of our trade exchange.
Yes, and as you mentioned earlier, iTradexchange is reciprocal with other trade exchanges.
That's right.
So what he means by that is if we're all part of a community, so if you're going to Baton Rouge and you need to spend some trade money somewhere, we're reciprocal with that trade exchange. So you're not only taking advantage of the businesses here locally, the 200 businesses, you can go to Baton Rouge and you can take advantage of their trade exchange as well. I've done that many, many times.
The reciprocal component of our network was really reflected after the flood.
Yeah.
After 2016.
Okay.
Because most of our local businesses were down and out. They were down and out not only with their businesses but their homes, or one or the other. And frankly, there was no place really to spend their trade dollars locally.
Right.
People were just preoccupied for one reason or another.
Or they had no business to.
That's the point. That's the point. But what happened was we were having members that were moving temporarily to East Baton Rouge Parish out of necessity because their homes were flooded.
Right.
And they started picking up and they were saving cash in Baton Rouge at this point. They were going to eat out or joining health clubs over there or whatever it may be. So they were taking advantage of the reciprocal component of what we do, and which is huge. It's huge. So a lot of people, again, it sustained them through the flood.
I know people personally that have said that had it not been for trade, they would not have made it after the flood.
It bridged the gap.
It really did.
That's right.
And I'm sure it was a very stressful time for you personally, as well. And I don't want to dive too much into that, but just touch on it. And that is that in times of trying times, whether it be COVID, whether it be a flood, a trade exchange is a godsend in a lot of ways to get you through, because people don't necessarily have cash, but they might have trade that they can spend to get them through that. So that's a huge service. Now, I want people to grasp this, because you've said this a couple of times, and that is safe cash. Safe cash. I'm going to give the listeners and the viewers a scenario. And when you say save cash, my best way of putting that is, if I'm going to go to Big Mike's and I'm going to take a client to lunch, okay, and that Big Mike's meal is $60. Let's just throw a number out there. Okay. And I use a trade card. What I just basically did was I used my trade card to pay for it, and that $60 cash I can use for something else.
That's right.
I didn't use my cash. So I literally saved cash. It's pretty, if it was just limited to restaurants, that would be a good thing. But it's not, is it? You can do all kinds of things with trade. Now, where business owners really benefit from trade is most small business owners don't have access to insurance, or they have access to it. The problem is it's so daggum expensive that they can't afford it. So they have to come out of pocket when they get like prescriptions, or when they go see an optometrist, or they go to the dentist. This is where every small business needs trade. You can go to a dentist on trade around here, can't you?
Oh, yeah. Dr. Clint Sandifer, Dr. Donald St. Angelo, to name a couple.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll take your trade.
What about if you go to that dentist and they write you a script and you have to go fill a script?
Well, yeah. I mean, you can go to Walker Pharmacy and fill the script on trade.
On trade. You just hand them the card, they swipe it, and they give you your meds?
Exactly. Now, some people have dental insurance. Some people have insurance that'll cover pharmaceuticals, but it doesn't cover the deductibles. That's where iTrade can come in as well. If Dr. Donald St. Angelo, the copay is the deductible. That's right. So you can use your trade currency for that. I
do it every day. Well, not every day, but a lot.
You think outside the box, and that's what you need to do here. But it's not difficult thinking outside the box.
No, it's really not.
It is different, but this newness isn't a hard newness. And people need to understand that when they become a part of a trade exchange. Hey, you're just looking for alternative methods to save your cash. If you're going to this chiropractor and spending cash, well, I have these chiropractors that take trade. Which one do you do have options still, right? Oh, yeah. Your options are to spend cash or trade.
Sure.
So, but the options are there.
And I'm glad you brought up that point. And we're going to get more into options, but I want to make this point as well on trade. And that is, if you're a business owner and you're not yet on the exchange, maybe you're watching this, you were curious about trade and you're watching this to kind of get more information. What you have to ask yourself, and you and I have had this conversation because I do this a lot. What you have to ask yourself is, how much business am I missing because I'm not on trade? How many people are passing me by that are actually on the trade exchange? I can tell you with no hesitation, I have not ate at a restaurant that does not accept trade probably in over a year. I pass them by. Why? Because why am I going to spend my cash when I can spend trade and support my local businesses? I literally get my prescriptions. I live in Denham. I get my prescriptions in Walker. It's nothing against any of the medical facilities in Denham that fill scripts. But I'm not going to go pay cash when I can pay trade. So I pass them up. I had a individual contact me about advertising. I do advertising, for this show even. But I had someone contact me about, advertising with them. And I said, as soon as you get on the trade exchange, I'll be glad to do it, because where I advertise now is on the exchange. So it's what you have to think of is the business you're losing as well. Not only the business you can get from being on the exchange, but the business that's maybe driving right by you because you're not on the exchange. And then once one of your competitors gets on it, you really need to start paying attention, because if your competitor is on the trade exchange and you're not, almost probably 100% of the time, those trade members are going to the guy that's going to take trade. So from that respect, I think that is one of the probably biggest advantages to a trade exchange. And your trade exchange here and in Central City, but we focus more here because we're a Livingston Parish based show. So there is a conglomerate of things you can do relative to the trade exchange. Business owners especially, because what I'm sure you want to really focus on is I want to be able to have advantages for these business owners to make life easier on them.
That's right.
The things that they have to spend cash on. So tell me about some of the things that maybe are normal monthly expenses for business owners that are actually on the trade exchange and they can use trade.
Yeah, because that really is the lifeblood of the trade exchange, or people who are using their dollars in a recurring capacity for daily, weekly, monthly expenditures. Getting your oil changed, right, with a quick lube oil center, or eating out. Some people eat out maybe once a week. Now they might eat out 2 or 3 times a week because they have the trade currency. Yeah. Going to the dentist. Now that's going twice a year, right? But that is a recurring. It's just a little bit longer of a spread. There are
pest control.
Yeah. I got pest control companies. Again, I have all the different electrical, plumbing. Rhino Electrical is a part of the group. I got floors. If you need Mother's Day, if you want to buy a floor arrangement and have it delivered by Florida Faber, you can do that. And so it's virtually unlimited what's available now.
It really is.
I don't get objections anymore when people are joining or right after they join us. I can't spend my money.
Yeah.
I don't. It's like, what are you saving your money for? Is usually what I get. Well, I want a jet ski. I said, well, I don't. You saving something I don't have. Yeah. So why not use it on all those things I do have available for you and save that money to buy the jet ski down the road?
Right. Now, that doesn't mean that jet skis won't ever come up.
Or unique things that pop up, Jim.
How do they pop up uniquely? So, and obviously I know the answer to this question, but there's a Facebook page. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's more of a classified page, right? So when people are trying to sell things outside their normal business. So if you said, Dane, like a jet ski or a boat or a car or whatever it may be, you can move those things through your account as well by accepting trade for those products. So if you said, I have a table at my house that I'm not using anymore, or a piece of jewelry or whatever it may be, Dane, go ahead and try to move that for me using trade. Here, start at this price. Yeah. People will auction things.
Yeah, so it's almost like if you go to Facebook, Facebook right now has the little deal you click on and you can pull up in your area all these people. It's almost like a garage sale online. Yeah, Facebook. Thank you. So they have Facebook Marketplace. You have
classified. Yeah, that's right.
Basically the same premise. But guess what? The marketplace don't take trade.
No, they don't.
You do.
No, that's right.
So that's a great advantage, and that's things that people really hit that pretty hard. It gets a lot of hits. So I want to cover a little bit, and I did some research, even though can
I interrupt? Because you were talking about unique commodities a minute ago, and there was something that happened years ago when I was a part of the trade exchange out of Baton Rouge. Okay. One of our members had a large chunk of land available in what preceded Greystone. Greystone wasn't around at this time, but the land was a part of that area.
Gotcha.
And so this man, he sold a piece of his property to another trade member, and the guy, his intention was to build a house on there, but he bought it on trade. Again, he bought this land on trade. Greystone came around and basically bought that land from him for cash. It wound up being a huge cash transaction for him. Right. Cash conversion would be the word for that, right? He paid trade and got cash for it. It wasn't the original intention, but those kind of neat things happen from time to time. Yeah. But again, those are unusual events. Sure. The recurring things are really what would stimulate and drive a trade exchange.
Sure. But I'll give you another example, and this is something I did. So every now and then, I wouldn't even say every now, I would say more often than you would think. You'll have trips pop up. So this is maybe last year. A trip popped up to Alaska. It was a cruise. It was with Norwegian Cruise Line, and a balcony room, all these sorts of things. Now, I would I would have never went on that trip planned on paying cash for it. But it popped up on the trade exchange. It's still a great deal, even on the trade exchange. And so I saw it on there. I talked to Dane, and he says, "Hey man, you got it." And we did what we had to do to make that happen. I went on that trip, me and my wife. I can honestly tell anybody it was thus far the best trip I have ever had. Go to Alaska if you get the chance. It will blow your mind. It's like being in a painting. It's unbelievably beautiful. But I would have never taken that trip, not necessarily even from an affordability standpoint, just from a standpoint of it. To me, it was kind of a risk because I wasn't sure if I would like it. It was a cruise, and I had never been on a cruise, but what trade allowed me to do was it took kind of the worry out of, man, am I going to spend a ton of cash on this trip and then not enjoy it like I think I would? It was almost a no-brainer on trade. Ended up being the best trip I ever took. Those don't come around every day, but trips come around more often than you would think. I have good friends that are on the trade exchange that went to like Jamaica or something recently. So they do come around, and those are things that definitely you want to take advantage of. Now, you're right. The lifeblood of an exchange is the everyday stuff that occurs. So you may ask yourself, if you're in Livingston Parish and hopefully you're considering getting in touch with Dane on this, what are some things that I can do on trade, and what are some familiar names? So I'm going to name some things. We're going to put you on the spot a little bit. I'm going to see if you can come up with who the businesses are. So oil changes, you mentioned.
Quick Lube, yeah.
Quick Lube. Eat. Let's cover just some restaurants and locally that people can eat at.
Yeah, so you got your Big Mike's. We mentioned them before. You got Peebo's. You have La Coretta, Maria's. Right, those are a couple that have jumped into my mind quickly. A handful.
Yep, and much more than that.
There are,
but those are some everyday names that everybody knows, and all of them are on the trade exchange. All of them love trade. They love to take it, and all those sorts of things. You can fill prescriptions.
That's right, Walker Pharmacy. That's Mike over at Walker Pharmacy. He loves trade. Loves it. He was
I give him a lot of it.
He benefited in a huge way after the flood. He was able to rent a bunch of these dehumidifiers from a company out of Baton Rouge that helped him out at his home. But again, his home flooded, his business flooded. Yeah, so that helped him out in a huge way. So a personal story there for him.
You mentioned Order Flowers.
Kathy, Florida Farber.
Yeah. What about general vehicle repairs? You get a vehicle that you just need some general repairs on, nothing major.
Well, Expert Collision will do a lot of those basic maintenance type of things, and you also have Purvis Car Care Center out in near Watson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pest control?
You have S&S Automotive as well out in Walker, Livingston area too. And
there you go.
Brian
That's
Solomon.
3 options off the top of his head.
That's right. Pest control. You got Expert Pest. And
who was on McHugh's podcast recently?
Yeah, Expert. So that's a great guy there.
Yeah, great guy. Pressure washing services. You got guys that do pressure washing?
I have a couple of companies, Lines and Stripes. Art is who pops into my mind. He does pressure washing, but he also does the striping in a parking lot out of business. Right. Yeah. So he has all the equipment to do both.
Fantastic. So if you have a business and those lines for parking lot striping, they fade quickly. Right. And I'm going to get into my wheelhouse here for a second. Okay. Why is that? Because it's really, really cheap paint. I mean, it's not designed to like stick to a house and stay beautiful. Unless you're painting an airport, they use very, very expensive paint on that. But most of your businesses, they just have a cheap paint on there, and lines and stripes go out there and stripe that for you. The point is they fade quickly, and being able to use trade to get somebody to do that, wow, you can't beat it. You can do it 2-3 times a year if you need to.
That's right.
So that's that one. What about business law services, whether you're doing powers of attorney, business incorporation, successions, those sorts?
That's right. You have Ivy Graham and Ben Barters, or 2 wonderful attorneys who do both of those, business law, and they'll do any type of contract type work. They'll do your wills for you, and they both of those folk love law, and they're both great people.
And they love trade, and of course Ivy Graham is a hometown gal. lives here in Livingston Parish and all those sorts of things. So they're on there. Dental needs. So kids need braces. I'm a small business owner. I own a lawnmower service, and I don't have insurance. It's just me and another guy. What am I to do?
That's right. You have Dr. Larry Foster is in the group. He has 4 locations in the Livingston Parish area. He'll do braces on trade. Wow. Fantastic. You're looking $5,000 or $6,000 there, and he'll say, bring it on.
And if you need general dentistry, you named a few of those guys.
Yeah. Dr. Clint Sandifer has a location on Florida Boulevard, and you got Dr. Donald St. Angelo. Yeah. Right on Range Road. Wonderful dentist.
Now,
wonderful dentist.
What if it's someone that they're not built like me and you, Dane? Maybe they're a little skinny. They need to get on that. They need to get on the weights a little bit. They're not. They don't have all the guns we got.
No, that's right. It's sad.
So you got those guys, and they need a health club. They need to join. And is there?
I have Anytime Fitness on Jubin Road.
Okay, yeah, very familiar with Anytime Fitness.
And I got a referral yesterday for a Snap Fitness out in Walker. So I'm working on that. So that's how I get referrals. By the way, I have happy members call me.
And let me tell you, it's hard to beat a health club membership on trade. I mean, it really is.
That's right.
A lot of people don't join health clubs specifically because they don't want that monthly issue with cash. And it's not so expensive. It'll like break you, but it's a hindrance.
It's a luxury. They consider it a luxury expense.
It's a luxury. Yeah. So guess what? You can do that on trade. Rehab services we discuss. Right. How about if do you have office cleaning services? Like if someone has an office and they need to hire someone to go in there and clean it.
I have more residential in that capacity, right? And yeah. Look.
So that would be something you'd like to have. So there you go. So if you're someone that does office cleaning, we're looking forward in the trade exchange. Get in touch with Dane. What about window cleaning?
Yeah, I've got him Larry Jackson. Yeah, LJ Window Cleaning, and he'll come clean your business. He'll clean your homes. He likes cleaning windows.
And I hate it. Let me tell you. I told my wife when we got married, this is no joke, I said, I don't do windows. And I don't. That's way too monotonous for me, so thank goodness for him.
Does she?
And if you've got a business and it's got we need him. Let's just put it. She did it actually recently, probably about 3 weeks ago, and it was middle of the day, hot, and she came inside and she's like, I hate this.
We need to call Larry.
Yeah, we need to call Larry. But if you have a business and they have like wall-to-ceiling windows, what would be better than to be able to use trade? Optometry. So you need glasses, you need stuff like that.
I got Brandon Wax right around the corner.
Right around the corner here.
Adams Springs.
Yeah. Alarm company. So I opened a business and I need an alarm company to come in there. Do you have
Pelican Alarm? That's right. That's Logan and Andrew at Pelican. Right. Yeah. Good guys there.
And here's some other interesting ones. I won't put you because some of these are well, you probably still know who they are, but you can also get home staging services if you're a realtor, and you can pay for those home staging services on trade. You can also, we talked about parking lot striping, interior design services you can get on trade. Lawn cutting services. Who's your lawn guy that
That's
you got?
Billy. Billy Sims with Hervacare is my main guy there.
He cares, so you don't have to.
That's right. He's another board member of iTrade.
Very good friend of mine and yours. And so Billy will cut your grass. No problems there. And he pretty much loves the trade.
He does.
Title closing services. You buy a house and you need title closing services, which is significant. That's a couple $1,000, typically. What Becky at Southern Oaks Title. Yes, who was on my podcast previously, so look for that.
I have a real good story about Billy Sims, by the way, if we have time.
We will. Go ahead, tell it.
Well, when he first came, he went out of country and did some mission work. Mm-hmm. And when he came back he and I had befriended each other maybe a couple of years before he left. And when he came back into the country, he started a lawn care company, and he got in touch with me, knowing what I did and what I do. And he goes, man, well, let me go ahead and join that trade exchange that you're involved with. And one of his first jobs kind of scared him actually a little bit. His first jobs was a trade job. So his cash flow wasn't cash, it was trade.
Right.
But what happened was it like escalated him into a whole nother realm because there was like 2 or 3 neighbors that saw him doing work and they liked what he did and they went and hired him. which turned into some really big cash jobs. So he was able to get the door magnets through the trade exchange. He was able to get his business cards through the trade exchange. He advertised. He did some different things that really escalated his brand new business because of trade. And, to this day, we're friends, and he's, like I said, he's a board member. So not only existing built up businesses like Big Mike's, but new businesses can benefit in a huge way from being a part of a trade exchange. I can help you. I can help you by way of, generally when a new member joins, I'll establish a line of credit. I don't give them money. I'll give them a line of credit so that they can jump into the arena immediately. Yeah. They don't, right? Because I know they're going to get business. It's just I time it so that we go back and forth. You go spend some of your credit line. I'm going to catch up to you by bringing you new business, and we're kind of going back and forth all year round.
Yeah, and it also helps them to understand how trade works while they're waiting on those customers to start flying in there and doing business.
That's exactly right.
Which I do want to segue to since you brought that up, you also offer gift cards. So just like anywhere else, so you could use these as corporate gifts is what I'm getting at. If you and those gift cards can be used at many of the trade exchange members, not all. Some of them don't accept gift cards for one reason or another.
That's right. They don't have their own gift cards.
Yeah, but almost all the restaurants take them.
That's right.
And from that perspective, you can use those to reward your employees, even
employees or customer appreciation.
Use them as bonuses for your employees. You did a great job. Here's a $50 gift card. Go eat it at one of the million restaurants that are on our exchange.
When cash is tight.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. And what it does is, and this is something I also want to mention on trade, is it enables you to kind of, okay, so say you go to the restaurant and you typically get a hamburger and fries, maybe you get the steak and potato because you've got some trade money coming in that maybe you want to spend it and you need to spend it. And so it'll enable you to kind of live a little bit maybe more above your means than you would be able to do on cash.
Right. But it's okay.
And it is okay. It's a great thing. It's, so that is another advantage of trade is that you can kind of step up your lifestyle a little bit because you are taking in some trade and
save your cash is what I say. Save your cash, use your trade to do those things that maybe you wouldn't otherwise do.
Exactly. So we kind of discussed some of the things, and incidentally, you can also get printing services on trade. You can do advertising on trade right here. You can do a podcast on trade. You call me. I'll get you fixed up on that. Photography.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Amy Koneska, wonderful photographer. Amy K. Yeah, she does all the photography. Yeah. Weddings. She'll do weddings on trade. She'll do that's right. Anything. Yeah. She's a wonderful photographer.
Yeah, my wife's already talked to her.
Good. That's good. I love Wendy.
So if you have
I love your wife.
Child who's a singer, I know she spends. Trust me,
she's a beautiful woman.
So with that, if you have a graduating senior and you need to do school pictures, you can do that on trade.
Yeah, right.
School pictures, graduation pictures, or family pictures anytime.
That's right.
Advertising, of course, but there are some needs. There are some things that Dane Arnold would still love to have more of. So let's discuss some things maybe that you're looking for, maybe that that you'd like to get in there.
Well, one thing too is I'm an executive director of the trade exchange. That's what we call ourselves. And a director is kind of like you have a conductor in a band.
Yeah.
And you conduct and you have 3 or 4 trumpets, you have 4 or 5 trombone players, you have a couple of tuba players. You don't want to inundate any one category, and that's what I direct. I'm not going to have. I don't need any more attorneys, for example. So I got Ben and Ivy, and they want all the business they can get. They need all the business they can get. I don't want more attorneys, right? I can't have enough restaurants. Can't have enough. Automotive is something that. Because everybody has cars, right? Yeah. I don't really. I'm kind of full with dentists right now. I'm the ones that I have right now are servicing the clients properly and effectively. Don't really need any more dentists right now. So I kind of control who comes in and when they come in, even.
Yeah.
So I say that to answer your question, kind of in a roundabout way. I love. We always need more restaurants. We always need more restaurants. Probably could use another air conditioning company right now.
Sure.
Okay, because I look at what the air conditioning companies are taking in, and If you're in a trade exchange and you want to take in more trade than you can spend, you can flip the switch off.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm at a point where I'm in a category where all the members of that category are at that point where they're flipping a switch off or slowing down what they can take in, it's a green light for me to go get somebody else in that category.
Yeah.
You never reach that with restaurants, right? You never reach that with automotive. Those are just a couple of.
And that's a good example. And one thing with trade that I would say you're gonna do, and that is protect the currency.
Right.
So the problem is if you take in an exorbitant amount of trade, and he mentioned saving earlier, and he's like, some of these guys, they'll take in $15,000 in trade, and it's like, man, don't you want to go eat somewhere and use this stuff? We want you to use it. And the reason for that is you're going to protect that currency to where if you have nothing but a bunch of people saving trade, it'll devalue that currency.
You have a recessionary economy, and that's where I feel like a little mini Alan Greenspan. He's not the Fed director anymore, but I feel that way sometimes when I'm calling entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And by the way, entrepreneurs, that's the funnest thing I do in my job, in my career. I wouldn't call it a job, it's a career. And sometimes it's the hardest thing dealing with entrepreneurs because they're very independent people. They want to do what they want. They want to do when they want to do it. They don't want to be told what to do, generally speaking.
Right.
All right.
Nor do you. You don't tell them.
That's right.
What you're leading up to, and I want to kind of interject on this is you're absolutely right. An entrepreneur does not want anybody else in his business. That's right. And Dane doesn't get in his business. What Dane does is he protects his business. And your business is the exchange. That's and you're protecting the value of that. And that is for all the members as a group. And so, yeah, if you're someone and you have $30,000 in trade, you spend $100 a month, it may be time to go on standby and kind of spend some of that down until to a reasonable level. And then you open back up. And that's something we also need to bring up is, some people say, well, what if I take trade and I take in a bunch at one time and I can't spend it fast enough? You absolutely have the option to go on standby at any time you want.
Exactly.
So if you take in $1,000, which is not much, but if you take in $1,000 and you say, whoa, I want to spend this before I go any further, you call Dane, you let him know. He's going to put you on standby. When you're ready to get off standby, you call him again. There is no, commitment that once you're on there, you absolutely have to be active all the time. We want you active all the time. And trust me, once you learn how to spend it, you're going to want to be active all the time. But you have options there. Nobody, and those sorts of things. So what would you say a common myth about trade is, if you had to say?
Well, that's illegal.
Yeah.
That's illegal. And usually that comes from business owners, CPAs, because the CPAs don't understand.
Right.
Right. So when you explaining to the business owner who goes back and then tries to explain what I explained, generally CPA is going to, I'll use the word poo-poo the idea because they don't understand that, no, this is a legal entity. If you haven't heard of it, and a lot of people haven't heard of organized bartering or organized trade network, including CPAs.
That's right, which is surprising to me. I feel like they should know about that. That's kind of their wheelhouse.
Right.
But if you have any questions about that, it's real easy. Go to Google IRS Barter Exchange, and it's going to pull up exactly every law and things that you need to follow as a barter exchange.
And that's really my job. Totally. My job is to make sure you get the 1099-B, which stands for barter income form at the beginning of each year, which will reflect the income you earned.
That's right.
So the government sees it as cash coming in, but they also see it as cash going out. So when I pay you for advertising on a podcast, that's a deductible expenditure, whether I'm paying you cash or trade. So the benefits are there both ways.
Yeah, you look at it as a business owner, you just kind of, you got to remember the IRS looks at this like cash.
Exactly.
And so while you had, some people might say, oh, well, that's just more income they're going to hit me with. That's also more write-offs. It's no different. So you also get the advantage of the write-off. So if you're taking business people to lunch for a business meeting and you use trade, you write that off the same way you do your cash. So yes, you've got to claim that income, but on the flip side of that, you also get to write off that cash because regardless of whether it's a barter exchange or cash, regular cash, it's still income.
That's right. It's seen as income.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I would rather have the income.
Well, that's the point. Well, why do it? Why do it if it's not under the table? Why do it? It's because you're getting business you'd otherwise not get. You're getting new clients who will ultimately want to, if you do a good job, right? If they're sitting at the table and they get a good meal and they're happy with that meal, what are they going to do? They're going to refer other people to you, right? Well, that's what happens in the trade world too. If I get a good meal or good service from the plumber or the electrician or whatever it may be, that's who I'm going to refer. And usually those people I'm referring to, those people are cash paying clients because everybody's not in the trade exchange.
No. Some people don't. They don't have the ability. Maybe they're not business owners.
They work at a plant or whatever it may be, but they just got referred by somebody who is. So there's a networking component to being a part of trade exchange. That's part of the big picture.
Exactly right. And that I can't impress enough that if you're in the exchange, the big advantage to me is if you're in the exchange versus not being in the exchange, how many people are not doing business with you because you're not in the exchange. I can tell you, any service I need, the first thing I do is open up my app and type in electrician or type in florist, and see my options. I don't go to Google and Google it because that's not going to tell me who's on the barter exchange. Right. I go to and that is who I'm going with first.
Or call me. That's right.
Or call Dane.
Dane, I see you have 3 plumbers in a group. Yeah. Which one actually needs more business? Which one needs more business? Yeah. And so that's where that directing part comes in too.
That's right.
I've had people who've driven from Central to go see Dr. Ron McMorris at Elite Chiropractic in Walker.
Yeah, everybody knows Dr. Brown.
How many chiropractors did they pass up to go to Ron because he's in trade?
Yeah.
At least a dozen, right?
Like,
I mean, that's one of the benefits of being, people are going to pass up your competition.
That's right. And I used the example with advertising. I mean, I kind of like advertising. Obviously I'm in advertising, but I definitely get my stuff that I get from Sporting Center. For example, they do things for me. They are in the trade exchange, Sports Center. And guess what? I get $400 in school clothes every year on trade.
Yep.
Can't beat it. It's a beautiful thing. Love them people over there. Yeah. So let me also ask you, we do a book club here, and I started a book club last week, and Dr. Don contributed his book to the book club. And what I do is I link these into the video version of this podcast, and I also edit it in where you actually see the book. But I find it interesting. You're definitely a leader in your industry. And leaders don't lead just from birth. There are things they learn. There are books they read. And so the local leaders library needs another book. So what would you recommend as far as a book that's helped you in your life?
I do tell my kids that readers are leaders, by the way.
Readers
and leaders are readers.
I like it. It rhymes.
I know. What a coincidence. But I do like fiction more than anything, although there were a couple of books that were more driven to helping my business. When I was selling the books door to door, the Dale Carnegie book was something that really impressed me. It was How to Win Friends and Influence People, and just how to smile and how to memorize names and how to just that was a really productive book.
It's a timeless book.
It is. And a guy named Og Mandino, I brought the book. Og Mandino wrote a bunch of books. The Choice was the one that was impressed me of those books. And it was this was a guy who was working at a job, and he was a writer, and he wanted to be a writer, and he took the plunge and he quit his job, and he became a writer. Bought like a lighthouse up in Maine, and began writing. Was inspired to write a book that became a huge bestseller. And the point being is that you need to follow your dream. And people get caught in their jobs when they really, what they need to do is figure out, what do I want my career to be? Yeah. And that had a lot to do with me when I switched from being in a clothing business to going into the trade exchange, a total different business, but it's a lot more fun. And it's been just a wonderful ride for me. for my family and for just my clientele.
Yeah.
And so Mandino, he's just a great writer, and The Choice is the one that I would recommend.
That's an interesting book I have not read, and I will check that out. I have read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Actually, probably the first book I ever read on self-improvement. And that was at a time in my life, believe it or not, I read it at 13. And that was at a time in my life when I was struggling a little bit. Believe it or not, I was not always the non-shy person you see today. There was a time I was awkward and I'd get around girls and I wouldn't know what to say and I'd be all nervous and that book helped me a lot. Yeah. And I credit it with a lot of the success that I've been able to enjoy today. So great book, Dale Carnegie, certainly a timeless individual. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have a little fun here. I have a couple of questions because we just can't get enough of you, Dane. Oh, I mean, boy. You just can't get enough of you.
Just like my wife.
I have a couple of fun questions for you. So the first one's going to be, if you could have dinner with anyone in the world, or anyone from history, who would it be and why?
It's probably going to sound.
You're going to say Jesus, aren't you?
Yeah, it's going to sound. I
knew it.
Yeah, it's going to sound trite, but or cliche, but yeah.
Yeah, I would too. I would too. Other than Jesus,
Paul, the apostle, was a pretty incredible person. He was Saul, right? And he was murdering Christians at one point. And then he had that Damascus Road experience, and then he became the super Christian, right? Yeah. And wrote over half the Bible. And I would like to sit with him, just say, hey, tell me about the experience.
Apostle Paul. If you want to come eat with Dane, he'll sit down and talk to you. That's interesting. Okay, if you could compare yourself with any animal, what would it be and why? Any animal.
Wow.
Look, I'll compare. I'll do mine first.
Go.
I would be an eagle.
Okay.
And the reason I would be an eagle is I would love to say the really cool, awesome thing, which would be the eagle has no natural predator. But that's not true. I would want to be the eagle because the eagle to me represents freedom. And freedom to me is the most beautiful gift you can actually absolutely get in the world.
Ditto.
There you go.
I'll take the eagle.
The eagle. Good. Okay, one more. I know I'm stumping you here. If you were a type of food, what type of food would you?
Oh, filet mignon, baby.
I love it.
Okay, yeah.
I love it.
That's like the prime cut.
The prime cut. You are the filet, Dane. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and humble too. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to thank McHugh David for all his engineering skills on this podcast. My guest today, Dane Arnold from Itradexchange, the Livingston Parish News for the space, and all the viewers and listeners for your support. Please follow me on Instagram, like me on Facebook, subscribe to me on YouTube, and check out the website at paintpodcast.com. It sure helps me out. You can also listen to the audio version of Local Leaders of Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, among many others. I'd like to thank my sponsors for this show as well. I simply could not do this without you. And if you're interested in sponsoring Local Leaders of the Podcast or appearing on the show, please email me at jim@paintpodcast.com. If you're interested in getting our newsletter, The Weekly Leader, straight to your inbox, I'm attaching the link in this video, and you can sign up completely free. Keep an eye out for my next guest, as Jeremy Powell of BJ Pawn and Gun will be joining me. You know Jeremy.
I do.
To discuss his life. And when I say life, I mean literally his life in the pawn business. Until next time. Oh, before I do that, Dane.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you my cup. You can have this cup. This is from Sporting Center.
Okay.
So you're familiar with them. They're on the Trade Exchange, and they actually etch these in-house.
Okay.
And this is awesome tumblers with my business plastered all over them. So that is for you. That's a gift from me.
Thank you.
And I also have a t-shirt here, so you can also be my walking billboard.
Wow, thank you. I'll wear it.
So it's a Local Leaders exclusive Local Leaders t-shirt.
Going to the beach tomorrow. I'll wear it.
I love it. Until next time, I am Jim Chapman, reminding you to love your community, support